What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys today, and what we're going to be focusing on is squad building for next season. A lot has been made out of why we might be going for Marcus Edwards, Carl Walker-Peters, and these players that have been trained by the club. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through the requirements for the Premier League and Europa League for next season, and it doesn't make for great reading, does it?
It will explain exactly why our transfer policy is the way it is, but also it will make you maybe a bit more perplexed about the Werner signing, considering all these issues that we do have with homegrown players in the squad. It is definitely more of a problem now in European competition for next season, and yeah, we're going to explain why.
Yeah, so in the Premier League, the rules are a squad must contain no more than 17 players who do not fulfil the homegrown player criteria. The rest of the squad, up to a total of 25 players, must be homegrown. What is a homegrown player? A homegrown player means a player who is irrespective of nationality or age, has been registered with any club affiliated to the Football Association or Football Association of Wales for a period of a continuous or not of 3 entire seasons or 36 months before his 21st birthday or the end of the season during which he turns 21. Rules on homegrown players. Under 21 players are eligible over and above the age limit of 25 per season for 23-24 campaign. Under 21 players will have been born on or after January 2002. So when I said 23-24 campaign, just relate that to the following season, which is the 24-25 campaign. So in terms of the Premier League squad, essentially you need a squad of 25 players and only 17 of them can be foreign players.
Yeah, and I think we more than... Obviously, the foreign players we have a lot of, especially ones out on loan, so we're going to have to get rid of a lot. But in terms of the 8 homegrown players, obviously they don't have to be club trained, so people like Maddison count, Brendan Johnson counts, these kind of players. Ben Davies counts, but then once you move to UEFA, it gets a bit more tricky.
Yeah, so in terms of the Premier League, we should be okay in terms of the players that we're going to get out the door. Obviously, right now, with 32 players in our squad, you're going to have a lot of players that do need to go out the door, but the reason why the goalposts have moved dramatically from last season to this season is because Spurs have entered into the European competition for this coming season. So in terms of the Premier League, we should be okay. We will be okay. It's the UEFA rulings which make it very difficult. So in terms of the UEFA rulings, club must announce 2 squads, a squad A and a squad B list. In the A list, out of a 25-man squad, 8 places are reserved exclusively for homegrown players. Out of the 8, no more than 4 can be association trained and the rest must be club trained. It must be explicitly mentioned who qualifies as locally trained and also whether they are club trained or association trained. Club trained players are those who are on the club's books for at least 3 years between the age of 15 and 21, whereas he'll be considered an association trained player if he was on another club's books in the same association for 3 years between the ages of 15 and 21. It must be noted that only 4 players from this category will be counted among the 8 local or homegrown players. In terms of the B list, you can have an unlimited amount of players on the B list. A player must be registered on the B list if he is born on or after 1st of January 2003 and has been eligible to play for the club concerned for any uninterrupted period of 2 years since his 15th birthday. So basically anyone under the age of 21 will be on the B list. Anyone older than that will have to be on the A list, and you can have 4 players club trained and 4 players that are homegrown players, and the rest can be foreign players. So this is where
to be on the B list, you have to as well have been trained by the club.
Correct. Yeah. So it brings us into a tricky situation. This is our current squad right now. If you bring back all the loan players, all players that we might potentially be selling, they're all on this list. So currently now we have a squad of 32 players. Mm-hmm. So if we break this down, we've got 32 players, 21 foreign players, 5 club-trained players, and 6 homegrown players.
So already minimum, at a bare minimum, at least 4 foreign players have to leave. Well, first of all, 7 players in total have to leave, and 4 foreign players, because you can't have more than 17. At least 4 have to leave. Correct.
So a lot has been made out of who's going, who's staying. So we've assumed for this list, Reguilon, Emerson, Spence, Tanganga, Roden, Davis, Skip, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Hill, Solomon, and Troy Parrott are going to leave the club. So if they do all leave the club, which, you know, I don't think it's beyond all realms of possibility they do, this is where what we'll be left with. 19 players, 14 foreign players, 2 club trained and 3 homegrown players, which means you can bring in a maximum of 6 players. 2 have to be club trained, which means the homegrown quota and the club trained quota will meet the requirements. If we do only bring in 5 players, then one of them has to be homegrown and 1 club trained, and then that will leave an extra space in the squad, and that means the club trained quota won't need to meet the requirements because an extra space will be free.
Right. So, which is probably the likely scenario, seeing this is going to be unlikely that we sign 2 club trained players, let alone 1. And then obviously it begs the question, what kind of club trained players do we sign? Or is it going to be a case of one of Parrott or Skip potentially are going to stick around just to meet that requirement potentially as well? So a lot of difficult decisions Spurs have to make, and that's obviously why it tells a story about why they are seriously looking at Marcus Edwards right now for the cheap fees available for. There is a lot of talk about potentially Kyle Walker-Peters re-signing because of this issue.
Yeah, but it's also worth noting that we've got players in the academy that could be potentially ready to step up. You look at the likes of Jamie Donnelly, you look at the likes of Mikey Moore. I know he's still very young, but if we were to upgrade them from the B list up into the A list, then obviously that negates that a little bit as well.
Yeah, but you shouldn't you? They won't want to do that. They don't have to.
Of course.
So they're obviously in the B list. They don't need to take up a spot on the A list if it's not necessary. So we could always promote one of them, but obviously we want to try and avoid that if it's not necessary.
So basically, what we're saying that out of those 19 players that will be in the squad after the sales potentially, we need to bring in 6 players. 2 need to be club trained. Unless we don't promote.
2,
yeah, if we bring in 6, 2 need to be club trained.
Correct.
So if we bring in Kyle Walker-Peters,
we can't bring in 6 players.
Yeah, but if let's say we sign a Kyle Walker-Peters and a Marcus Edwards, where does that leave us in terms of the squad of what kind of personnel that we need to bring in? We need to bring in a 6 then. If we bring in a Marcus Edwards, do we have any more spots in the attacking lineup?
Definitely a striker, definitely a striker. And I would love to say another winger, but obviously we would already have like 4 wingers if you're including Son there. 5 wingers, I guess, with Edwards.
We're looking very light in defence as well.
You'd also have 5. Obviously, you could always sign another defender. Walker-Peters obviously is a versatile fullback, but obviously I think we'd want to sign another maybe centre-back / fullback as well. So Walker-Peters would be on top of that. And then you need midfielders, but then how many players that? So you need another 4 signings. I think those 2, plus a striker, plus a number 6, plus 1 more defender, and maybe another winger, maybe, and then that should be enough.
So if you have Kyle Walker-Peters to cover the right and the left back, you're looking at a left centre-back to come in as well.
Left centre-back / left-back kind of player, I think.
Yeah, which, you know, that will give us a lot of cover with Kyle Walker-Peters there. But Kyle Walker-Peters, I mean, Southampton just got promoted to the Premier League. It's going to be a pricey move.
I don't think it'll be too expensive, but I reckon it's not going to be cheap. I think he's got 1 year left, doesn't he? So
fair. So that's 2 players. A number 6 is 3. A striker is 4. And then what? Maybe let's say a 10 or a 10/ winger like an Eze you can bring in, which is also a homegrown player. So that's 5. And then you have 1 more that you could bring in.
Well, Edwards.
Edwards. Edwards. Yeah, so that's 6. Would you be happy with that summer business?
I mean, if we get all that done, yeah.
It depends who it is then, Matt. I mean,
obviously it depends who it is, but I mean, that business would be great.
Yeah, it would be, but I just feel like with Kyle Walker-Peters and with Marcus Edwards and with Timo Werner, that's kind of, you're looking at 3 out of the 6 or out of the 7, however many players you bring in, kind of average signings.
Well, the whole point is with Werner coming in, it's already created even more of a problem with this less spaces for the homegrown club trained players. So it is. This makes it a bit more perplexing why we've decided to clog up another space with a foreign player when we already have this foreign player issue. And now, like, we're talking. Imagine what we just said there, what we were talking about, except we didn't have Werner, we just signed Edwards. It makes a lot more sense. All of a sudden, you have Edwards there, and then you definitely have space for another winger, and it doesn't like all of a sudden it's not like you're piling on. But then when you have Werner and Edwards, and you're saying, okay, we need another winger as well on top of that, like we already have 5 wingers, and you say, okay, we need another winger to make it 6 wingers.
Yeah.
I can see them not going for that.
Yeah.
So it makes less sense to bring in another winger. That's the only problem.
That's why it's just so frustrating that we brought in Timo Werner. Like, not even talking about this issue when we signed Timo Werner, we were frustrated with it then. But now, with this issue, it just compounds, like, the disappointment of why we brought him in.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, another way we could kind of step around it is if only sign one of Edwards and only sign one of Edwards or Walker Peters, and then keep one of Parrott or Skip. Want to keep one of those 2 around, and maybe that's what they'll be considering as well.
Yeah, potentially. Or you could just promote a Donnelly, a Moore, one of these kind of players that we think that is nearly ready already to be part of the first team. I know their age, they could be counted as the B squad, and that kind of takes away a player that could be part of the squad. But if they're ready to be involved, then why not?
Well, it doesn't really make a difference because they're taking up a spot in the squad anyway, in a way. So either you leave them in the B squad and you have one less player in the squad, or you promote them up and they take up a squad. So either way, it doesn't really make a difference whether we promote them or not.
Yeah. So is it better to have less players in the squad and trust in these guys, or is it better to bring in an Edwards and a Kyle Walker-Peters who you might want to get rid of in a couple of years' time?
Yeah, that's the decision the club have to make when it comes to that. I'm not 100% sure on the rules. I'm guessing, if it's one spot out and you can just take out a club trained player, does that mean if you take 4 spots out, you can take 4 club trained players out?
Yeah, if we don't have any club trained players in the A list, then we have to
21.
Yeah.
If we don't have any, got you. So then it goes down to 21. So I guess we technically could take out Austin and Whiteman, and wouldn't make too much difference. But it means we the only players we can add are club trained.
Correct.
The only players. Okay, makes sense. Got you.
So what would you prefer, though? Would you prefer to have a smaller squad and use just some of the players from the academy from last year, or would you prefer to bring in an Edwards and Kyle Walker-Peters and potentially have to get rid of them in a couple of years? But when we do have to get rid of them, you would better hope than some of these players from the academy are ready to step in real.
I think when it comes to Kyle Walker-Peters, probably I would rather him. I think because it makes more sense. We don't really have too many fullbacks in the youth anyway. I think he can cover both positions. I think could be a decent profile for the team as well. So I think Kyle Walker-Peters may be worth having. When it comes to Marcus Edwards, I think we have our own talent, and Edwards is like 25. I know he's a decent player. He's a good player with good quality, but I'd rather give players in our youth a go rather than signing a 25-year-old Marcus Edwards, in my opinion.
Edwards would have made so much sense if we didn't bring in Timo Werner. That's the reality. That is the reality. And Timo Werner, whoever decided to sign off on that deal, has screwed this up a little bit, because if you bring in a Marcus Edwards and you have Johnson, Kulusevski, Edwards, Richarlison and Son, you've got homegrown numbers have meet the criteria. Club-trained players, you just need one more player for. And we'd be so much more open to signing players in the attacking lineup as well.
So, but I guess out of this, obviously because Bergvall counts as a foreign player, I'm just trying to look at this squad. No one else is leaving from that squad, are they?
No.
Let's be honest. So we can only sign 3 foreign players essentially, right?
Yeah.
So we can only sign 3 more foreign players.
But in the Premier League, you're only allowed 17 foreign players anyway. But in the Premier League, Bergvall's not counted as a foreign player. Bergvall will be counted as an under-21 player.
Yeah, but for Europe, you can only allow 3 more foreign players.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I mean, yeah, that's why it's so stupid to have got Werner in, because he counts as one of those foreign players that we could use that space for a foreign player, but now this is the situation.
Yeah. So, I guess that is the situation on the state of the squad, which maybe makes you understand a little bit better why we are going for the likes of Marcus Edwards. We've been linked with Kyle Walker-Peters as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.